Okay, in this video we're checking out the FXT Wi-Fi DVR. It's a pretty nondescript plastic box here, and it lets you record your FPV flights onto a micro SD card. There's a micro SD card slot here, up to, I believe, 32 gigabytes. There's a little Wi-Fi on-off switch here because it does broadcast the video signal out of this box here via Wi-Fi to an app on your smartphone, and we'll show you that here in a second. But yeah, there's not much on here. You got a button that starts and stops recordings. There's a little flashing blue light there, a little green light here when the Wi-Fi is turned on. And I believe it's currently turned on, and then if it's in this position here, it's turned off. Leave that on. And you have power in, AV out, and AV in. It does come with this little belt clip here if you want to like clip it to a hat or something, or some, this basically just slides in here. You can use that as a holder. And then you do get a couple of AV cables. You get this one here with the RCA jacks, and then you have the one with the two AV connectors, the little 3.5mm barrel plugs on both ends. There's a couple different ways you can use this, and I'll demonstrate both of them. So the first one, I think that's probably going to be more common, is you're going to use something like a Fat Shark goggle or some sort of receiver that's going to receive your FPV signal. That's 5.8 GHz analog FPV, and it's going to come out of here. This port here is an AV in out port, and you're going to use the AV in connector. You're going to plug this in over here, and this will basically take the signal out of the from the receiver. It's the same video signal that you see in the actual screens here. Sends that out over here, and then you're going to plug that into over here on AV in. And then basically the signal that comes in on your receiver will come into this box here, and then this will get transmitted out via Wi-Fi to your smartphone. And at the same time you can record it to a micro SD card on board. There are some differences in the files you'll see on the phone versus on the micro SD card. I think it's up to 60 frames per second NTSC on the micro SD card, but it's only 30 frames per second if you see it on the phone. So it's a little bit different. It's probably because of the bandwidth of the Wi-Fi signal. And then the other cable here, actually I have this plugged in incorrectly. You have to use this cable here. So it's the cable with the two ends with the two 3.5mm jacks. That's how you're going to set up this way. The other method with this cable I'll show in a second demo. And then you have to power this on through a barrel connector, which is basically like your same connector that goes in the Fat Sharks. So got a couple other extra Fat Shark style batteries here with the barrel connector, and then you can power it on here, just plugging it in, and it'll turn on. But before you power it on, you want to make sure you have a signal coming out of here. Otherwise what happens is when there's a disruption in the signal out of here, this thing needs to be rebooted so that for the app to work and everything properly. I think that's a bug, something they need to work on. That's something I found, that basically if you switch from NTSC and PAL, or if there's a loss in video signal, like it goes to a blue screen, then this thing kind of flakes out, so you need to reboot it. So basically just unplug it and replug it in, and then it'll power cycle. So we're going to turn on the Fat Sharks first, so make sure we get a signal. And then I need to broadcast something or transmit something to this receiver, so I'm going to turn on a quad. Okay, so turn on the quad. We should have a signal, and we'll go ahead and plug this in. It should power on, and it's going to give you some blinking lights, and you have the little Wi-Fi light on. And then you have to go to your phone. Okay, so before you go to the app, you have to actually connect to the box via Wi-Fi, and I think it's going to show up here as FXT DVR. So it's going to scan for that. And there it is right there, and I don't think there's a password on there, so it should just connect. And you have to go to the app. So I've already installed the app. It's called FXT DVR, and you can find that in the Google Play Store, so we're going to launch that. and we should be able to see a signal. Okay, so here's something that you should be aware of. I have a blue screen right now, and you can see that the connector there is not all the way in. I thought it was all the way in, but it actually was not. So something to be aware of. This connector from my Fast Shark is very hard to push these into. So push that all the way in, and we should get a signal coming through. I might have to. Okay, there it comes. It's a little slow. You can see that the signal seems to be a little bit messed up right now. Anyway, so I'm going to actually try and relaunch the app and see if it'll reconnect here. That video signal didn't look very good. And so this has been happening on this product. The video signal is showing 0 frames per second now, so it doesn't look like it's getting any signal at all. So I'm going to have to reboot everything. Yeah, I think it's because I hadn't had this plugged in properly. So go ahead and turn this back on, and get some lights. And I'm probably going to need to reconnect everything on the phone as well. And we'll relaunch the app here. Okay, now we have a signal finally, and this is the drone that's over to my left here. I'll just move it around a little bit. There is a bit of lag between the signals being transmitted and then the one that gets to the actual screen here on the phone. And you can see here that it's shows frames per second is about 30, so this is an NTSC signal. If it was a PAL signal, it would show about 24, 25 frames per second. And the resolution on NTSC is going to be 720 by 480, and the resolution on PAL is going to be 720 by 576. Now, if you go in and hit the record button on here, it'll start recording that FPV signal. And the little blue light will start flashing, and we should get something on the screen here that should be indicating that it's recording. It usually shows a little flashing red light here in the corner, but for some reason it doesn't want to do that now. But yeah, it should be recording onto the micro SD card here, and as I said before, NTSC signals are going to be recording at 720 by 480 at 60 frames per second on the micro SD card. Now the thing I noticed is when I recorded a PAL signal, so if I had actually I'll show you this on the camera, but I'll actually show you some samples of basically some still images. When I recorded the same camera in NTSC, it was filling up more of the frame, and the bottom of the screen, like where the OSD was not cut off, it was the full frame. But then when I recorded a PAL signal from the same camera, the OSD on the bottom was cut off, and the picture seemed a bit cropped in. So I think that has something obviously to do with the difference between NTSC and PAL. Oh yeah, and by the way, there's that red dot. It's up there for some reason. I thought it was going to be over here. Maybe it's because if I rotate the screen, yeah, it's going to be over here in the corner. Sorry about that. I'm digressing. Anyway, so I think that the differences are between PAL and NTSC and the way that the recordings are made. PAL does seem to be a little bit cropped in and cut off compared to, I think I'm getting a full image on NTSC. So if you're getting this product, it's something you should be aware of on the differences between PAL and NTSC signals. So this is one way you can use it. You can use this app as a sort of, if you're wearing the goggles and you want to output your signal to this box, you can record the DVR signal here. Now, whatever breakup you're going to get on this receiver is going to show up on the Fat Shark DVR as well as in this DVR. Obviously, the frame rate difference is going to be different between the two. So 30 frames per second over here on the Fat Shark DVR, and 60 frames per second on the DVR that's recorded here from FXT. In terms of quality difference between the two, they look pretty close to me. This image on this does seem to be a little bit less cropped in than on the Fat Shark DVR. It's very, very negligible, not a huge difference, and does seem like it's a slightly higher bit rate on the recording in here versus the recording on the FXT DVR. Granted, you know, the FXT DVR is pretty bad, so anything that comes out is pretty much anything else out there is going to be better than the FXT DVR. As from what I've seen, the FXT DVR is quite poor in terms of bitrate quality. So it is a little bit better when you look at it on the computer, but the difference is not huge. So I think what this will be useful for is people that maybe want to watch you fly, but then, you know, they don't have, maybe you don't have an FPV monitor with a separate receiver. Then you can use this product here. You plug into the receiver here on your factory goggles, and then broadcast your signal here via Wi-Fi to this app on your phone, and then they can watch you fly. Obviously there's latency, but since they're just a passenger, the latency is not really an issue. They'll be able to see everything that you're saying, just that it's going to be slightly delayed. So this is one way you can set this up and use this. The other way, I'll just show you basically, is you can plug a camera signal directly into the box here and record that instead of coming one off of a receiver. Obviously there's not going to be any breakup or anything like that, but you can't really fly. And that's it. This is more for like camera testing. So this is another way that you could possibly use it. Let me go ahead and set that up. Okay, so here's another way you can set this up. I got the box here again here, still powered on. The other cable now with the RCA jacks over here, and then I have another RCA cable just for the video. Obviously you could use the audio as well, but I'm not gonna be demonstrating that here in this video. And then basically the video comes out of the box in through this cable here into this cable here. And then this is going to power up my FPV camera. It's just, it's a Foxer camera here. And it's got a little barrel plug for another Fat Shark style battery. So that'll pump up power into the camera. And then once the camera has power, it'll send the signal out through here and into the box. And hopefully it'll show up on the smartphone. So go ahead and turn this one on, and yep, it looks like this time it recovered right away. Didn't have to reboot the box, and you can see we have an image from the camera. Let's see. Yeah, that's not a good idea. Okay, so yeah, so you have an image here from the camera. Yeah, you can see there's a little bit of latency as I move things around, but yeah, this is another way you can do it. Obviously there's no transmission here, so there's no breakup in the signal, but if you're interested in doing like some camera testing and recording like I say 720 by 480 resolution video from various cameras, you could do that and do some camera comparisons that way. Obviously you just change this connector here, you get a different camera and get a different image. I think this one here is an NTSC camera, so let me see if I can find a PAL camera. Actually, never mind, I'm just going to change this setting on here from NTSC to PAL, and I'll show you what the difference looks like. I'm going to switch this to PAL, and if this is going to reboot, you can see how the image looks cropped in already. And you can see here, there's actually no, you can't even see that OSD anymore, and in the DVR recording it does show a little bit of the bottom cut off, but this doesn't even show it here on the preview screen. So let's go back to NTSC. Interestingly enough, I'm not having to reboot the box like I was when I was playing around with this earlier. As I switch from NTSC and PAL, it is just doing it dynamically, which is, you can see it's more, see how the letters are smaller, it's more zoomed in, and you can see the OSD now. So I obviously haven't tested every camera out there, but I've heard also this as well from other people that the PAL signals are kind of cut off like that. So something just to be aware of. I just want to make sure you guys saw that. So anyway, one last thing that I want to touch on is that one thing that could be useful for this is sharing your FPV flights on social media, like Instagram and Facebook. You know, it's a low resolution file, but you know, like as I said before, I recorded that file before. It should be over here, and this is the recording from the when I had it connected to my FatShark goggles. You can go over and click on this, and you can then download the file. You can play it back here live on the screen if you want to, but if you want to share it on social media, you just download the file, and then from there, obviously, upload it to Instagram, Facebook, or whatever. So I think that's another kind of cool way you can use this setup here, this device along with the app, it does give you access to all the smartphone apps that you would normally use for social media sharing. So if you're into that and want to share your flights and not have to, take your SD card to your computer and then upload it from your computer, you can do that directly from your phone using the app. So, okay, that's pretty much it. I think I've pretty much covered everything on this product here. Seems to work pretty good. So if you're interested in checking it out, I'll put a link down in the description. And if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Okay, so here's just a little bit of side-by-side recording from the Fat Shark DVR and the FXT DVR. The field of view, I guess it's got a little bit more frame on the FXT on the left and right, just a tad bit more. And the colors are just a touch more saturated, a little more vibrant on the FXT versus the Fat Shark, but other than that, not a whole lot of difference. The Fat Shark does drop more frames than the FXT, if that matters to you, but they're pretty similar in my opinion. So just a quick little flight here showing you what the differences in the DVR recordings are between the two DVRs, and you guys can see for yourself if you think there's much of a difference there, if you think that's something that you would want. Anyway guys, that's going to do it for this video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.